Hi everybody, my name is Jackie. I'm one of the designers here with the Ribbon Shed. Today I'm going to show you how to do the Fun Size Elf kit. Alright, so I've already loaded half my board, so let me show you how to do it. We're going to use pipe cleaners, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my board upside down. On the outside, use these two holes, skip a set, and just keep going every other on the outside. Now, as you can tell, I kind of fold my pipe cleaners in half. This makes it so much easier to load the board. Okay. Then on the inside row, you're going to go between. Once again, skip every other hole. Now, make sure when you start loading your board, this is the top. See where the two holes are? That's going to be for your zip tie for your wreath hanger. Make sure on the top that you start over here and not in the center. That's very important because otherwise it'll leave like a huge gap between your mesh. All right. So what you want to do once you get all your pipe cleaners in, you just take your board real quick and flip it and slap it down onto your table. And then what we're going to do on the zip ties on the outside, we're going to put them directly in the center with a couple of twists. I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a line that runs between the holes, and that will let you know that's the center between those holes. All right, so the ones that are going to the inside, we're actually going to do just a little bit different. What we want those to do is come to the edge of the board, right about the edge. So you notice how I'm pulling my pipe cleaner down. I'm going to bring it back up and twist it. Once again, down to the edge. I hold that one pipe cleaner down and then twist it. That way I'm getting as close to the edge as possible. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to do these things because I'm kind of picky and I like my pipe cleaners and stuff to be even. It makes me feel like I'm getting a better start and I don't have to backtrack and fix any mistakes. All right, so we're going to take the center pipe cleaners and kind of smash them down, get them out of our way for right now, and then open up the ones on the outside for our mesh. Now, the mesh on the outside, we have cut our mesh 20 inches long for the outside only. Okay, outside only 20 inches. All right. So what we're going to do, this is kind of like a laser foil border stripe mesh. It does fray a little bit. So we're just going to take and tuck that under one time, make a fold under one time, and then ruffle it. Then we're going to fold that down and ruffle it. This will prevent it from fraying, actually. Give your pipe cleaner a couple twists. We're going to do that again. Roll your mesh down one time and ruffle it. Then we're going to tuck our edge in like so. And notice I'm purposely laying each ruffle on top of the other one. That is so that my ribbon will lay better. Now I'm going to get rolling along. one of my tricks to getting your mesh to sit into your pipe cleaner better and you're not having to fight with it as much is as I put it into my pipe cleaner, I smash it down with my thumb. Like so. I hold it with my finger and then I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to smash it down toward my board, and that will make it easier for you to tighten your pipe cleaner. All right, so on this last one, we're going to raise this up, this last one up, and that's just to be consistent on how we, on how our mesh lays. We're going to raise that up, and we're going to tuck this one under. That way it all lays the same. Okay, now we're going to go to the center, and our mesh for the center is only 15 inches. The ties in the center are closer together, so our mesh doesn't need to be as long. And we're just basically using this mesh to finish filling out the wreath base, okay? Same technique that we were doing before. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your mesh and you're just going to kind of push it up to your other mesh. You're not going to lay it on top this time. And doing that is what's going to give your wreath a little bit of depth and dimension. After you cut your mesh, you won't have any left. Yes, this does take the whole roll of mesh. Now see how the wreath is filling out? We're not seeing the frame anymore. All right, so now that we got our mesh in, we're ready to go on to our ribbon. For our ribbon, we're going to be using a 2.5 and a 1.5. And we have cut 10 of each ribbon and 14 inches and dovetailed it. Now there's a couple different methods to putting ribbon in your wreath. This is how I do it. I'm going to take my two ribbons and I'm going to match them up together. And I'm going to fold them, match them up again. And I take my finger and I'm going to stick it in there in the middle, and then I scrunch it up to give it the pinch. Now the reason I like this is that I can open my pipe cleaner and I still have my ribbon. And now we're just going to transfer that over for the pinch. Put our ribbon in. I take and I pop the dimples up and spread my ribbon. Another way that people do this is they'll take their ribbon, they'll do the same thing and they'll fold it in half and then they'll crease it so they can find center. They lay it on their table, and then right there where they have found center, they will ruffle it up to find their pinch. and then put it in their pipe cleaner. That's just a couple methods. Find the one that works best for you. And we're going to go all the way around the bottom of our wreath, adding our ribbon. And one of the keys to your ribbon looking nice is making sure that you tighten your pipe cleaner enough. So we're going to go ahead here and put in our last piece of ribbon. And once we get that last piece of ribbon in, we are ready to start putting our sign and our goodies on. So the first thing that we're going to do is put our sign on. With your kit comes this 5-piece elf kit. Comes with a head, 2 legs, and kind of 2 mittens. So just to kind of show you the general layout of the direction we're going, we're going to put our sign directly in the middle of our project. The elf hat is wired, so you can bend it in any shape that you want to. And then we're going to put our legs down at the bottom, just kind of giving you a preview of what's going to happen. Alright, now to attach our sign, what we're going to do is we are going to cut off that jute rope. And we're going to use 2 pipe cleaners and a staple gun to put the pipe cleaners on. Now what I'm going to use is a 1/4-inch staple to attach the pipe cleaners. The sign is just over a 1/4 inch, so I've never had a problem with staples going through my signs or anything like that, and I've never had a problem with the staples pulling out of the signs when I attach them. But we're going to attach these directly in the middle of the sign. And I just kind of twist my pipe cleaner around each staple. Staples will hold better on the wood than what some people use are the cable tie mounts. So that's why I prefer to just use staples when using a wooden sign. And what we got to do is make sure that we find the top of our wreath. And like I said, we're going to go directly in the middle of our wreath with this sign. And what I'm going to use here is a darning needle. A darning needle you can find at Walmart. It's a yarn needle. And I use that typically because it makes it easier to pull my pipe cleaners down through the mesh. Because you just poke it up through there, grab your pipe cleaner, and you pull it right down through. So what you want to do is adjust your sign, but you don't want to pull your sign down so far that you're smashing your mesh. You want to pull your sign down till you're getting just a little bit of resistance against the mesh, and then secure your sign with your pipe cleaner. Well, this is a darning needle, and I will flip over here in just a minute. And show you where I'm putting the pipe cleaners. Okay, so when I pull my pipe cleaners down, I'm not pulling my sign all the way down. It's going to kind of float on my mesh, and that's what I want it to do. I don't want it to sink. I'm going to pull it down until I get a little bit resistance. Okay, so these are the two holes that I used. Well, actually the one hole, it's one hole on the outside and the direct outside of the board. And then what I'm going to do with the remainder of my pipe cleaner is I'm just going to tuck it back into the hole. Like so. Okay, and then that way the back of my board stays nice and clean and there's still nothing to scratch it. Okay, so one of the bad things about wreath attachments is these wires and stuff are incredibly difficult. We're going to take those off. Okay. And we are going to replace those with pipe cleaners, which will be so much easier to pull into the wreath. We're going to cut our tag off because we don't want people to see that. You can use a pair of scissors to poke holes in it. I've just been using a ice pick for years to do this. Okay, once again, so that you can see where I'm putting my pipe cleaners, I'm just going to use the tan ones. All right, so what I'm going to do is in the direct center here, I'm going to give this a squeeze and get a pretty good chunk of felt. And then I poke my ice pick through. Then I don't let go until I get my pipe cleaner in. And usually it works pretty smooth. And you don't have to worry about this tearing. Felt's pretty resilient. All right, and then we're going to come up here a little bit higher on the hat and do the same. All right, so when we attach the head, we're going to kind of start lower with the head. I kind of don't want it to be above the sign. I want it to be with the sign. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this hole right here to attach the head, which will be the lowest attachment point. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of twist down my pipe cleaner. I'm not ready to secure my head all the way down yet. And I'm gonna attach the top of the head, which will be the next set of holes up. All right. So these are the set of holes that I used. I used the outside of the board, then this hole, and then I reused that hole and the hole above. And then once again, I'm just going to take my pipe cleaner, what's left over, and tuck it in. And that will put our head on. Okay, next I want to put the hands on, and we're going to do the same thing over again, and we're going to, well, no, we're not with the hands. With the hands, so what you basically want to do with the hands is you kind of want to make sure that you're kind of being realistic. So this is a mitten. If you're wearing a mitten, which way it would go, so we're going to go thumbs up. Because it wouldn't go down if you were holding sign, it'd go thumbs up. So we'll take this thumb and we're going to put it on this side to hold the sign. And this side to hold the sign, okay? And what I try to like to do is like be as realistic as possible with mine. So I kind of pretend like shoulder length with holding the sign. And so we're going to go up just a little bit to right here. So I don't want to go dead center. I want to go just up a little bit. So where we put the sign in the very center holes, I'm going to go up a set with the hand. Now, if you find this difficult to change this wire out, to pull this wire through, I would recommend that you just switch it out for a pipe cleaner and that'll be fine. But I'll show you why I'm using the wire here in a second. So if we used a pipe cleaner, it would kind of pull the hand just a little too tight down into the wreath, and using the wire gives us the opportunity to bend the hand and shape it to hold it. All right. And absolutely with the wire, we're definitely going to tuck that into a hole because we don't want it scratching anything. All right, now we're going to come around here and do the same thing on the other side. All right, so we're going to bend it. We might have to bend this one quite a bit to get it to work the way we want it to. All right, so on the outside, directly in the middle, I used this hole and this hole, so because I wanted to go between the two holes and twisted it in the middle. All right, this hole and this hole. Now the last thing that we're going to do to make sure our hands don't move, because they kind of will, even though that wire is really good, we're going to dab a little hot glue on our hands and put them on the side where we want them to stay. So I don't want it covering up the lettering. So I'm going to dab it here on this thumb. Hold it there for a minute, and then just kind of keep this looking unison. I'm going to do the same thing with this hand and point it down. And then that way you can see part of the elf as well. All right, so let's attach the legs next. All right, and on the legs, we are definitely cutting the wire off. They are wired all the way down. We can kind of bend them if we want to. Once again, I'm going to use tan pipe cleaners so you can see where I put the legs. And I'm just going to, all you need to do is poke a hole through. And we're going to do the same thing with the other one. All right, so with our elf legs, I kind of want them to go out to the corner. So we're going to be using the outer edge holes right here to attach the legs. So this is the bottom, center, 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're using 2 and 3. Okay. All right, so I'm really going to pull the leg down in there because it's wired. I know it looks like it's pointing at you right now, and that's fine. But I really want it to look like it's coming out of the wreath. Then I'm going to bend it. I actually want to move that up a set of holes. I didn't use the right set. Told y'all the right set, but I didn't use the right set. Because I like mine to go a little bit underneath the sign. All right. All right, just to let you know, I did tell you all the right set of holes. I missed the right set when I was putting it on. That was my fault. Okay. To see how you can kind of pose the leg and kind of have a little bit of fun with it, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pose the leg and have a little bit of fun with it because I'm going to put a bow over here. Okay. So there's several different kinds of bow makers on the market. This is the Easy Bow Maker. At the Ribbon Shed, they sell one similar. It's called M's Bow and Go. If you have M's Bow and Go, the way that I'm making the bow would be the same way that you make the bow on that product. The two of these bow makers are very similar to use. Now in your kit, you've got one long pipe cleaner, and that is for making the bow. All right, and we're gonna make a pretty big bow, pretty nice healthy size. And we're gonna start out using our 2.5 inch ribbon on the bottom and 7-inch loops. And what I like to do is dovetail the ribbon first. All right, and then pinch, we're gonna do 7-inch tails. Twist and put it down into your bow maker. All right. Now, because I want 7-inch loops, I'm going to put my hand over here on this side to hold it while I'm bringing my ribbon back over. And then once I do, I'm going to pinch and twist. And there's my first 7-inch loop. And then we're going to do the same thing again. Bring our ribbon back over, pinch, and twist, because we're going to do 2 loops on each side of this ribbon. Now, the reason that I'm doing this with the 2.5 inch is because I just don't feel like, I think that this makes a better twist and my ribbon and my bow looks better. Because I do a different kind of a technique with the 1.5 ribbon, which you will see here in a second. All right, so we're not gonna twist this time. We're just going to pinch and slide it down into our bow maker, and then make our dovetail. Now with the 1.5 inch ribbon, I'm able to do a different technique, and it works pretty well for me. We're gonna dovetail that first. And we're going to make our loops. These are 7 inches, so these will be about like 6.5 inches. Twist, put it down into your bow maker. Now this time with the 1.5 inch ribbon, because it works out just fine, I go ahead and I slide it down into my bow maker, and then I'm able to do my twist right there in the center. So slide it down in there, and then I make my measurement, twist, and we're going to do 2 more loops. And on the last time, we don't need to do a twist. All right, let's come back to our 2.5 inch ribbon. And now we're just going to do 1 set of loops. And these will be about 6 inches. So what I do is I go down about every 1/2 inch. We're just going to do 2 loops. And then when we come back to our 1.5 inch ribbon, we're going to do 3 loops. The reason I do 3 loops is to put kind of like what they call a button in the middle to kind of polish the bow up. And that puts us actually finishing our bow on the opposite side. Okay, now that you have your bow done, what you're going to do is you're going to take your pipe cleaners, pull them up, crisscross. Go right through your bow maker and crisscross, and then pull your stack kind of tight, okay? And what I'm going to use is my pipe cleaners to hold my stack, and I'm going to push up from the bottom of the bow to help release it from my bow maker. I'm going to pull my pipe cleaners down to the bottom, and now we need to tighten our bow down. So I'm going to squeeze on it and tighten my pipe cleaners up, because it's very important that this stack is as thin as possible and tight as possible so that your ribbon doesn't go sliding through. Okay. We're going to take our bow and we're going to set it off to this corner. Let me zoom out a little bit more so you can see more of the wreath while I'm working on it now. Okay, so what we're aiming for is right about here with the holes. So here's your leg, so we're going to go right here with the bow. Actually, we're going to go right here with the bow. All right, when you pull your bow in, you don't want to pull it down until it's tight, just till you just want to pull it down till you get a little bit of resistance against your mesh. Okay. So now we kind of want to deal with this leg. All right, we're going to take some hot glue on the other leg, and we're going to use a generous amount. And we're going to hold it there while it cools down because we don't want our leg to move. I use my hot glue gun on low temp, and the reason I use it on low temp so I'm not holding this stuff that long and I don't burn my fingers as bad. Okay, now that that has set, let's fluff our bow. We're going to pull our tails down, and I like to pull my tails down and just get them out of the way. And then that way all my focus is on the loops. Okay, so I start at the bottom and just going to pull, pretty dramatic, pulling our loops apart. If you feel like you're getting resistance, just flip the way that you go and your bow will look better. It'll lay more natural. Like I was getting a little resistance, so I switched how I was pulling on my ribbon. Okay, now we got it situated on that side. We'll just come to the other side. Sometimes I feel like I can fluff a bow forever to get it to look the way that I want it to. I'm going to shorten these up just a little bit so that more polka dot shows through. Every now and then I like to flip that one tail. It just kind of seems to round out the bow to me. To flip just that one tail up. In case you're wondering what I'm kind of being picky about, it's that dot to stripe ratio. I'm trying to make sure that it's kind of even there. Okay, so now that I've got my bow situated, I'm going to come back here and get my ribbon fixed so that we can put our lollipops on, because, you know, kind of unfortunately, while you're doing other things, your ribbon gets smashed and squished, and it's always important to come back and get it fixed. I see some people don't fix it, and, well, if you're not going to make it look nice, don't bother. All right, so the last thing we're going to put in our wreath are lollipops. Okay, we're going to leave the bow on, but we're going to cut a great deal of the stick off. Okay, we're going to leave about 2 inches on our stick. Now, if you make wreaths a lot, you'll want to save those sticks just in case you need them to make a pick of your own. All right, so what you want to do is I always start directly catty corner from my bow when I put in my largest pieces. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to kind of pull the bow out of the way. And I make sure when I'm looking at these things that there isn't a bad side to these, because sometimes there is. And I'm going to pull my bow out of the way. I'm going to slather the stick up with hot glue. And I'm also going to put some just at the bottom of the lollipop. I'm going to push that down into the mesh. And the lollipops are lightweight enough, don't worry, the mesh will hold them just fine. All right, so I want to be careful that I don't look like I'm doing left to right. So I'm going to come down a little bit with this one. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to slather up our stick. I always want to hold it there for a little bit, make sure that it's not going to move. And then we're going to come down here to the other side. And once again, really want to be careful that we're not doing a left to right or making it look like it's up and down. All right, so we're going to go right here by the leg. All right, now that our wreath is done, let's put the wreath hanger on. In your kit, you got one zip tie, and that is what that is for. At the very top of your wreath, you'll notice that there's two holes that have a dimple in them. And that is where your zip tie goes. Ta-da! I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. Yeah, it was a little bit longer than most, but it was fun. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Bye, everybody.